Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Girl Got Goals podcast. I'm women's fitness specialist Marcy Allen.
And I am IFBB Bikini Pro Kimberly Blaylock.
Welcome to our Optimizing Overall Health series. Today, we're going to cover specifically nutrition. And as a disclaimer, we are not medical professionals. We are simply people who know a lot about nutrition, who have lived life, personal examples. If you are someone who specifically, especially has any kind of medical issues, please speak with your doctor before starting any new exercise or nutrition plans, and just use our information today as advice. Well, let's get started. How are you today, Kimberly?
I'm fine. How about you?
I'm doing well.
I have done
So,
my chores for today. So
did well, that's good because you always say you can't podcast without a clean house.
Yeah. So the only thing I got to do now, don't tell nobody. Don't tell my mama. My bed's not made.
Oh, aren't you supposed to
Well,
do that first?
well, I couldn't because I was washing my sheets. So when Carrie
Oh,
goes to the hunting camp on the weekends, I let our dog sleep with us. And so I have to wash away all of the, signs that I let her in the bed.
so he doesn't have any idea, or does
he
he
knows.
know?
He knows. He knows.
Okay.
But that way I don't have to listen to him. I can smell her. And I gave her a bath today, so.
Well, you have to have something to keep you warm while he's gone, right?
Well, not just that. I feel bad. She always gives me those sad eyes that I'm leaving her. Because I have to lock the door. She knows how to open the doors. So we have to lock them. And she'll just look at me sad, like, you've been going to work all day. Now you're going to go in there and go to bed without me. And it's
Poor
sad.
thing.
I
Oh.
know. So,
Well, we're going to dive right into our topic today, which is nutrition. So I thought that it would be good. We're going to just start like super, super basic, just assuming that our listeners don't know anything about nutrition. And we're going to start with, why do we eat food? We eat food to obtain nutrition. And so, what are nutrients? And nutrients are defined as chemical substances obtained from food and used in the body for many biological processes. So then we can break down nutrients, and this is really getting into the meat of our subject, into micronutrients, which are vitamins and minerals. And the word micro meaning small, these things are needed in small amounts, and that's our vitamins like vitamin A, all the B vitamins, zinc, calcium, etc. And then we get into the fun part when we're talking about nutrition, and that's macronutrients. And the macro meaning large. These are nutrients needed in large quantities, such as carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. So then we start talking about macronutrients, and a lot of people are afraid of carbohydrates with things like keto and carnivore being popular. How do you feel about that?
well, I'm not a keto diet fan, but that's just a personal preference. Um, I don't think I'm really for either one. If I had to choose one, I love meat. I could never not eat meat. But I think there's a certain point where too much meat is not good either. So I feel that there should be a happy balance personally. That's my personal. There's so many studies on all different, um, but I think that you need a healthy balance of all of those things. What about
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. And we're going to get into that today, like the ranges. I believe that every macronutrient has its time and place in a well balanced meal plan when we're talking about nutrition. And there are specific acceptable macronutrient distribution ranges that we can use as a percentage of our total calories. And they say that our acceptable macronutrient distribution range, or AMDR, that's a mouthful, for carbohydrates is actually 45 to 65% of our total calories. So that's a large portion. That's at least half.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is that it's your body's preferred fuel source when it comes to glucose in the body. You get that from carbohydrates, and your
Yeah.
body will store that in the liver and the muscles in the form of glycogen. And if you don't have any carbohydrates going in, then your body's going to start breaking down protein into amino acids to get that necessary glucose or glycogen stores to fuel your body. So you get into diets like keto and carnivore, and if you're not getting those acceptable carbohydrate ranges, I worry about muscle wasting.
Yeah. So, how do you feel about not eating a lot of carbs?
So I guess it depends on what you mean by not a lot. For somebody who is eating 2,000, 2,500 calories a day, and they're taking 40% of that, which is on the lower end, it's still a considerable amount of grams of carbohydrates. I myself stay around 100 grams per day, which is not a lot, but it's where I feel good and I have energy. And it's not ketogenic by any means, which I think don't quote me on this, but I think it's around 50 grams and under per day to be in ketosis and be
Mm,
ketogenic. So I think it really depends on how many calories you have available, what are your energy goals, how your body processes carbohydrates. Some people do better than others. Some people
yeah.
prefer fats for energy. So I really would say it's definitely a personal preference as long as you're covering your bases with getting enough protein and enough carbohydrates to not break the muscle down.
Yeah. And I think that sometimes, that has to come with time and learning your body. Um, I didn't know, we've discussed, I just kind of jumped off in this before I even knew anything. But I'm paying somebody at that time to just tell me what to eat. But that was for a show. So totally different than what I'm going to be eating or what somebody should be eating every day. So I didn't know how my body was. I have learned my body does not like low carb. So I went on my first low carb where I got really low in a diet. Now, my first coach, he didn't do that. He gave me carbs throughout. So I still didn't understand people towards the end of the diet feeling so bad and talking about, oh, you're not taking the week off of your show. Like, oh, I couldn't work. I didn't understand that because I had never been low before. Now I have. And now I can say, mm-mm. I can barely put one foot in front of the other. I sure can't um, lift anything, not just in the gym, but like because I own the furniture store. Um, the truck came in, and it was hard for me to even unload the truck because I am just so low carb, can't hardly get out of the car. Um, so I think that's something that people will learn about themselves.
Yeah, and I think that changes over time too. I have been on a ketogenic type of diet before, and I was paying a coach, just to write me a meal plan. So I was just following the meal plan. I
I think we
had
lost Marcy.
You lost me. What?
Hello.
You can't see me? It says I'm still recording. Well, can you hear me? What the hell? Are you there? Can you hear me?
Well,
You can't hear me? You can't see me? What the heck? Can you see
I can
me?
see you now, but I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, that is so stupid because literally nothing changed. And I just turned the camera off and turned it back on, turned the microphone off and turned it back on. There was something red that flashed up against the top of the screen, but I couldn't read it and then it went away.
Well, it
And
said,
then,
yeah, it went real fast. It said Marcy something another, and then you just went blank. And then, so I'm sitting here like, um,
so what was the last thing you heard? I'll just pick up from there and edit it out.
was just me talking. And then I said, oh, well, I kind when you went blank, I kind of cut myself off about the carbs because I'm like, should I keep talking? Because I don't
Okay.
know.
Okay. So I started talking after that about my experience with carbohydrates, with low carb. So I
Okay.
guess I'll just.
Well, I know my part probably sounds stupid because it just flipped me out when you went away because I didn't think, I was like, do I keep talking? Because this is going to be weird.
I thought you saw the thing flash against the screen and that threw you off. I didn't know you couldn't see me.
I
But
couldn't see you or nothing.
I can hopefully I haven't edited a video yet. I'm gonna learn. I can just edit back to where you finished your sentence and then we can go from there.
Okay.
Um and I forgot to say this before. I figured we have about 8 minutes per section. So we probably don't need to spend too much time on carbohydrates if we're gonna cut to fats and protein.
Yeah, we was at 10 minutes when all that happened and it's saying 13 now. So that was about 10 minutes in.
Okay, so I think we have about 5 or so more minutes to spend on fats and protein. So I guess we'll just cut it at that. About maybe you had a hard time being low carb. Because if I add on my story, it's just going to add on a whole lot more time.
Yeah. Well, the only thing I was going to add to that is, there's a girl in the gym that um, was telling me she can do low carb, but her husband can't. So it just depends on the person's body type. But I don't know how that's going to sound if I start it now.
Just start it now. Just start it now, and I'll edit it to where it just cuts into that. Go for it.
Okay, let me see how I can make this work. I'm sweating. So, it was rough for me to be low carb. I didn't like doing a diet where I got that low because it was hard to even function during the day. But then I happened to be talking to a lady at the gym, and she was telling me that she can function on low carb. On her low carb days, she goes to the gym, works out. I think she told me don't quote that this is correct. I think she said 50 grams, and she's just fine. But she said her husband is not good. So, just depending on the body type you are, because I'm not good. So that, me and him's alike, and, she's a unicorn. But I'm sure there's more. But I was like, no. I mean, I can't function. So a low carb diet for me, I don't see how people do it. Because how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I have definitely talked to people who have been into like a ketogenic diet, and they say that they feel great, that they have way more energy with the higher fat, higher protein, using fats as fuel instead of carbohydrates. And I do not have that experience. The thing most recently that I struggled with when I tried to do low carb to get leaner for this show was dehydration, because carbohydrates pull water into the muscle cells. And when I tried to go super low carb, like under 100 grams a day, I started battling with migraines, and cramps, and they were brought on by dehydration. So it wasn't even like an energy balance thing at that point. It was a whole other issue that I had never dealt with before that I just can't handle now. So I had to bring it back up to at least 100 grams a day to avoid those types of issues, because that can be debilitating.
Oh yeah, yeah. So my suggestion on that, talking about what people, this is no science to it. I'll have people ask me, and you're more of the nutrition person because Marcy actually has her little certificate in that. I don't. Mine's just personal experience. Um, but people ask me, well, how many calories do I need to be on? How much of this do I need to be eating? And that's not, I mean, you can get online, you can kind of see where you should be, but that's not always an exact math. I mean, it takes time to see how many calories you should be eating because you could have been dieting so much you've crashed your metabolism. And, if you get online and do the chart, it might say you should be eating 1,700 calories and that's your maintenance, but really actually it's 1,200. And so if you start eating 1,700, you're going to be putting on, weight. That's one of those things in my experience that takes time. I tell that person, start with that as a guide, weigh yourself, make sure you're eating the same things and not veering from that because that can make a difference. And then if you, after about 2 weeks, are putting on weight, then you need to lower it by 100 calories and then see how that does. When you start maintaining, that's your maintenance. And then from there, you can go to a deficit or add or stay. It's now you've got the certificate in that, which I would say close to a month before you could probably figure it all out.
Yeah, we're definitely going to cover that later. And when we're going to talk about how to calculate your basal metabolic rate and your total daily energy expenditure and calories in versus calories out. And I think that'll give people more of a guideline to go by to figure out surplus and maintenance. But you're definitely right. All of the things that we were talking about are just general guidelines based off of studies that have been done. And not all studies are created equal. And you are not a typical study participant. I mean, you are unique. Just like your fingerprints are unique, your body's unique, your lifestyle is unique, your circumstances are unique. And if you're thinking about going low carb, you're just going to definitely have to try it and see how you feel. You know your body, you know how it reacts. And if you're doing well, great. If that's how, you want to go about being in a deficit or whatever. Or some people have like insulin issues. I know a lot of people with diabetes do low carb and high fats, and that helps them manage their blood sugar levels. And that brings us into our next macronutrient is fat. And fat supplies about 60% of the body's ongoing energy needs at rest. And you definitely want to keep fats a little bit lower as a percentage of your total calories. I would say about 20 to 30% of total calories. There have been studies done that said like a more moderate carbohydrate, low fat diet is actually the best for losing body fat specifically. And when we talk about optimizing overall health and nutrition, there are good fats, there are bad fats, and one of the bad fats is trans fats. So that's the three we're going to talk about today. So, what are some of the good fats that you like to use in your diet?
Uh, I'm more of an olive oil person. Um, I wished I like avocado, but I don't because I know that's a really good one. But um, I don't care for it. I have used coconut oil, um, and I will take a fish oil supplement. But other than that, yeah. What about you?
Yeah. So I learned about the cooking temperatures. So not all good oils are created equal, and there are different flash points that each oil has, and I don't know what the flash points are. But as far as olive oil, it gets rancid at
Mm-hmm.
cooking temperatures. So you're really supposed to use it kind of like an add-in or a dressing, and it's supposed to keep it kind of cool. And you're supposed to use like the coconut oil and the avocado oils if you're doing any kind of sauteing or frying or baking or anything like that. So we have started using avocado oil. We get a huge jug of it from Costco and use the organic avocado oil. I tried coconut oil, but it tasted like it had that mild coconut taste to it, and I didn't like it. And
Yeah.
I can use it in certain things, like if I'm going to make like a really healthy sweet potato casserole or something that, could use that little bit of coconut flavor. I can use it. It's great for your skin, but I prefer the avocado oil because Jimmy likes to fry eggs every day. He fries eggs in a cast iron skillet every day for his lunch, and he uses it in the frying pan, so he has to have something with a high flash point.
Yeah. Well, I use olive oil to even do my eggs. Well, let me back up. Sometimes I'll use Pam. I know that's not, you know, um, perfect. But I will get the avocado oil one from the Pam and use that. But I had to use the olive oil because I'm not, for me, eggs is not something I'm turning up real high. It's because I'm, like you said, I know that you can't have high heat. Now, we have bought chicken before that I will put the olive oil in there just because I'm almost just low heat stir frying it. Um, and to me, it works fine and I like the taste that it gives it. But that's how I use, that one. So then you got your bad fats. You want to talk a little bit about the bad ones?
Yeah. So what they typically say is bad fats are the saturated fats. So saturated is going to be anything that turns solid at like a room temperature. And actually, coconut oil is a saturated fat because if it's room temperature, it's usually in a solid form. And the saturated fats are usually things found in animal products, meat, eggs, dairy. But I don't know about you. I think about, like we talked about last time, people frying things in lard, and I knew grandparents that had bacon every morning, and they never had a clogged artery. They never had any heart issues, I don't know. And there's new studies coming out that, they have these fads, like one time eggs are bad for you and the next they're good for you, and,
Mm-hmm.
certain things like that. I think saturated fats get a bad rap because they're not heart healthy, quotation marks. But animal products have fats in them for a reason, and we've lived on them for centuries and millennia now. And so I don't think that they're bad for you, especially if you're exercising and eating a balanced diet.
Yeah, my personal opinion is the ones that are in the meat, and I was going to get into that when we go into the protein. I think those If you're eating your meat, you're getting a good source of the fats that you need. So sometimes I don't eat a lot of fats in my diet. Every now and then, I will use peanut butter, but like a tablespoon on a rice cake. And besides what I'm getting in my meat, that's about all I eat as far as fats go. If I'm staying on track, if I eat the cake or cookie, but I don't think that they're bad. And of course, eggs, well, that's on every diet I ever have. I get to where I could just vomit. When I see an egg, I eat so many eggs. But we all
I
know I'm not
love
a,
eggs.
I'm not an egg person. Although I had some at Waffle House the other day that were really good. I was like, these must have like butter in them or something because they are really good. But that's just my opinion on the saturated fats. I don't think all of them are bad, especially the ones that we eat in meat.
Right. And it's not like the little bit of trace fats that you're getting in meat. It's not like you're heaping that into a skillet and frying everything with it. I mean, just like we talked about the carbohydrates, I think if you go to one extreme or the other, it's not going to be good. I think
Well,
balance.
yeah, let me back up because this just popped in my head. Let's think that probably the reason why, some studies are going to say bad fats being what's in, meat. Now, I can say, because I didn't think about that, when I eat the chicken or I eat a steak, I'm not eating the fat. Now, when I was younger, oh, I loved a ribeye and it had that little bit of fat on it. And then when you cooked it, it absorbed that. And I would love to eat that. I don't do that anymore. That part of the steak is not healthy for you. That's not the same fat that I'm talking about. When you eat just the meat part, that fat that you actually see, gristle, ever how you want to word it, if it's white on the edges, cut it off. So
Yeah.
that's probably what people are talking about and not, you know what I'm saying?
Right. And then you get into trans fats, which are not natural. So they're a man-made product where they take hydrogen and add it to a vegetable oil to make it a solid, for example, margarine. And it's coming out now that like vegetable oils and seed oils are extremely, okay, I'm not going to say that because I don't have any science to back it. They're not good for you. I was going to say extremely toxic, but the seed oils, the vegetable oils are not good for you. And it's not because seeds and vegetables are not good for you. If you just eat the seed or the vegetable, yes, it's good for you. But it's the process that they have to go through to extract an oil. Vegetables are not oily. You
Right.
cannot extract an oil from a vegetable, really. Like you squeeze an olive or an avocado or coconut. I mean, it's got oily properties to it, but vegetables not so much. And the process that it goes through causes it to become rancid. So then they have to bleach it, and color it and all this other thing. And so
You're
it's
taking
not
all the
good.
nutrients out of it when you do stuff like that.
You are. There's no nutrients, and all the chemical additives that you have to use in the process is making it extremely bad for you because your body is created to recognize food. And when you're eating things that are anything that's highly processed, that is not food any longer. And so your body is just not meant to be able to process that and handle it well.
Correct. I mean, that goes back to the, olden days. If you go back to medieval times or, when you didn't have McDonald's and they didn't have fast food, they're killing their food. They're catching the fish. They're not adding all of that. So they were way healthier back then. And that's why you're growing your vegetables. They're just eating the straight vegetables. They're not spraying it with all these toxics, to make them grow bigger because I got to make more money than this farmer over here. So I'm going to put more stuff on it. And I'm going to, even all of that, I think, and I'm just throwing this in there, that's my opinion. is what causes a lot of the cancers and the things that we have now. It's all this pesticides and different things that they're using, even when it comes to our certain chickens. I mean, I try to buy the chicken that's, not like that, because you don't know what they've injected in that chicken so they can make that chicken bigger so they can get more money a pound for it. It's really ridiculous what they can get away with and put in our grocery store for us to eat.
Right.
But
I heard somewhere that the largest source of sodium in people's diets now is from the chicken. It's not even from like table salt that you're adding to your meal. It's from these meat products that have been pumped full of some kind of sodium water, to it's probably most likely a preservative, so it could be shelf stable longer. But then you're, by default ingesting that. So it's definitely not fresh, not natural. All right, and that leads us to protein.
my
This is the
favorite.
big one. Yeah, Kimberly's ready for y'all today. She said, "I'm going to talk about a lot about protein. Is that okay?" Absolutely.
Well, I know we need the fats, but not so much of that. I think protein makes up more of our diet, and I don't think people realize how important protein is. We'll get in more depth. I'm just throwing this out there as far as like when somebody just eats a salad all the time. And they might not even put the meat in it. They're just eating salad. Oh, I'm trying to cut my calories. I'm trying to lose weight. And you're thinking, you need some protein. It's so many benefits from it that I'm passionate about that. So I'll go into that. You hit your points.
Yeah, and that's definitely not something that we grew up understanding or knowing. It's definitely something that some knowledge that we've acquired over the course of our fitness journey. But just to start it off, what is protein? It's a complex molecule made up of long chains of amino acids that are essential for building and repairing tissues in the body. So I've heard it several times. Proteins are called the building blocks of life. Everything in your body is made up of long chains of amino acids, and those amino acids are derived from the proteins that you eat. And like we talked about before, when needed, the body is able to extract glucose for energy by breaking down proteins into these amino acids. But I feel like that's a defense mechanism, kind of created so that we don't starve to death. And it really shouldn't be a way of life, I feel like. Because then you get into, like we talked about before, wasting muscle. So we both feel very passionately about how important it is to eat adequate amounts of protein, carbohydrates, and fats to prevent that loss of tissue in the body.
Yeah, so I was reading something the other day talking about how much we lose as far as our muscle the older we get. And I was surprised that we actually start losing muscle in our 30s.
I heard that the other day as well.
Which it gets worse, of course, once you hit the 60s and 70s. But I was very surprised to know that we start losing muscle in your 30s, especially since I've got a couple of kids hitting 30 and in their 30s. I'm old. So, then I was like, well, I need to really be talking to them about, about how much they need to really be up in their protein, because they're fixing to get to that point to, start losing muscle mass. And so if you are not really going to the gym and you're not really doing anything and you're not eating the protein, you're going to lose muscle mass. And we all know exactly what that means the older we get, So I also read that it was, even though we might consume protein in our younger years, your body will not be able to use it as well the older you get. So even if you're eating it when you're younger, it's one of those things somebody else was saying too, that if I eat all my protein today and I hit it, it's not one of those things that stores up. If I don't hit it the next day, well, then I don't have protein that I can pull from the day before. I just didn't hit it this day. So then if it you don't do it the next day and you don't do it the next day, it's one of those things that you almost have to do it every day, which people would be surprised at how hard that is to hit every day. It's a lot. But protein is very saturate. So if you eat your protein, that's going to help you lose weight and feel fuller. So I kind of personally like a higher protein diet rather than the norm, because the more protein I'm eating, the more muscle I'm going to build if I'm going to the gym. But the more protein I'm eating, the fuller I feel because it lasts longer.
Right. As opposed to eating a salad and then you're hungry an hour or two later.
Correct.
And the salad could have the same or even more calories than a piece of lean chicken and a vegetable. But if you eat that lean chicken and a vegetable, you're going to be full for way longer.
Yes. Which also brings me to how you feel about the importance of the type of protein. So, animal-based, plant-based. I know there's people that don't like animal, but it is the best source of protein. You can get it through plant-based, you just have to eat more.
You do. You have to eat more calories per day to be able to fit in all the essential proteins and amino acids from a plant-based source. I actually was vegan for about 9 months, and it was due to some health issues I was having. I really couldn't digest meat very well, and it made me very tired and sluggish when I did eat meat. And so by process of elimination, I was just like, well, I'm just not going to eat any meat right now because I feel better when I don't eat it. So I will say that I lost weight and I lost a lot of body fat. It was some of the leanest times I've had was during that phase because eating vegetables and fruits, plants, you're not getting a lot of fats because those are mostly found in animal products. I was not eating dairy at the time either. So I ate Kerrygold grass-fed butter at my doctor's advice. She's like, make sure you're getting some sort of essential fat in your diet. But that was it. I did no eggs, no dairy, no cheese, no nothing. And I got very lean. However, I also lost a lot of muscle.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't able to exercise all the time. All I could do was like yoga, like some low intensity and walks. I wasn't able to lift weights at the time. And so I did lose a lot of that. So I can't say that there may not be a time in your life that you need to abstain from meat for a certain period of time due to health reasons or maybe religious reasons. There are some people who, fast on Fridays from meat or, a period of time. But I would say definitely the larger part is the same advice that we've given throughout this episode, balance. Well balance because ethically, someone can make a personal decision to not eat animal meat, but scientifically, when you look at all of the essential amino acids that your body needs and all the proteins, it is extremely difficult. I would say even impossible to get the same quality of protein and amino acids and the same amounts eating a completely vegan diet as opposed to someone who eats meat even occasionally. And when I got a little bit healthier, I would eat meat every 3 days. And that was something that my body could still digest and process, and I still felt good. But I was also getting some meat because, our ancestors didn't have refrigerators. they weren't going to Costco and shopping for their meat. They had to hunt, So, and they were sharing with large communities, and I'm sure that they didn't eat meat every day. So, I mean, that's definitely an option if you're looking at optimizing overall health, and
Mhm.
you're just to feel good and maybe not worried so much about maintaining large amounts of muscle mass like we are.
Right. Well, and you can hit, I know that some people will say, like even the protein drinks and the bars, these have your protein in it. I have heard so many studies say that it's not the optimal protein and they rather you eat your protein than drink it. But by all means, I told my client the other day that I train, she's trying to hit all of hers, and I fuss at her all the time, bless her heart. But I was like, when you leave here from working out, at least get a protein shake. Because she'll be like, well, I was busy and I didn't stop today. I fixed something, but I didn't eat it. I was like, get you some of those protein shakes. At least it's something. Now, I might do like one a day after my workout. I try to limit mine to one a day because I rather personally eat my calories than drink them. But that's a personal preference. I would say in this journey until you got to that point, I'm not going to be like some of those, hard thumpers that say if a 10 is perfect, if you drank your calorie that day, then you're an 8 or a 9. I heard somebody say that one day and I'm like, that's a little harsh, yes, is it better? But not everybody's trying to be some top Olympian. I think that would be okay for them. If you're leaving for work and you need to grab something or, quick and easy, because our lives now are so crazy, that's better than not getting the protein at all, personally. But I just wanted to share that there's so many things that the protein does for us that maybe people don't know. Like you said, it's the building block of our body. And they say that because it's a crucial function of our growth and repair of our cells within our body. So insufficient protein can also cause hair loss and thinning in your hair, especially in the case of women in post-menopause period. So I already have thinning hair because of my thyroid issue. So I was like, ooh, that's a good reason right there anyway to up my protein and make sure I get it to counteract, But it also has benefits for your immune system. The amino acids for the protein helps improve our effectiveness of T cells and clearing abnormal cells, including cancerous cells from your body. That's important. So protein insufficiency also makes humans more susceptible to infectious diseases. Higher protein intake protects our bones, our muscle mass, the older we get. So that's going to help you, with osteoporosis and, like we've discussed before, falling the older we get. I just want to make sure that when I get to that age, that's not something I'm having to worry about. So we did discuss, the older you get, losing that mass. So if we keep our protein amount up, then you don't have to worry about losing as much of our muscle mass by just sitting around and not doing it. Protein supports weight loss because what we discussed, the more you're eating, the more it can help you control your appetite. Because if I eat a steak and now I'm full, but I eat a salad, well, I'm going to want to eat again. Or if I eat that salad, it's going to make me want to snack and I might choose something not healthy. But if I eat more protein, then I'm full longer and I don't snack as much. So what do you,
And
what do you think?
and something we need to cover definitely is what is enough protein. And in our society, I don't know where it started because I heard someone talking the other day about protein recommendations for soldiers in like World War II. And they were saying that they needed a pound to a pound and a half. I mean, a pound. Yeah, I think they did do it, like, it was like a pound or a pound and a half of meat per day is how they were calculating it. But I think it ended up being like 1 gram per pound of body weight, for a soldier, and if he was wounded, they doubled it. So, like, you were talking about cells and tissue repairs for these soldiers, if they were a wounded soldier, they got more protein. But somewhere along the lines, probably, the agriculture lobbying in Washington or whatever, the recommended daily allowance from the Food and Drug Administration is only 0.36 grams of protein per pound of body weight per day. So that's roughly one third of your body weight. And that is the recommended daily allowance to prevent disease. So that's like a bare minimum to where you don't get completely defunct. But people look at that and say, "Oh, well, the government says I should have, 0.36 grams per pound of body weight a day." So if somebody weighs as much as I do, that's only 52 grams of protein per day, which to me is unfathomable. I try to get 1 gram per pound of body weight per day.
Mm-hmm.
Which if you're someone who is larger and you're trying to lose weight, I mean, if you're 300 plus pounds, getting 300 plus grams of protein per day is almost impossible, probably very impossible. So you want to shoot for your goal weight. So say you want to be 175 pounds, then you're going to try to do 175 grams of protein because you want to sustain that goal body. But if you're in times like post surgery or like you said, as we age, our body has different needs. We may not be able to digest and absorb and break down those proteins as well as I've experienced in my life, even at a young age. So you may have to eat more protein and take different types of proteins to even be able to absorb that necessary amount that you need. Because they say the acceptable range of protein is between 10 to 35% of calories. That's a huge range.
Yeah.
I would never stay at like 10%. That's so low.
Yeah. Well, I would say too, like you're saying, let's think about the person not just losing weight, but I've seen people go to the gym, like we talked about last week, and not be changing. And they're like, well, I'm going to the gym, I'm lifting weights, but my body's not changing. I don't see what's going on. And then you start talking to them, well, they're not eating enough of protein. So if you are going to the gym already, not just somebody that's trying to get there, you're already going to the gym, you're already doing what you need to do, and you're not putting the muscle on, well, you have to feed that muscle. So once you go to the gym and you break down that muscle and you deplete all your glycogens, there is actually a step that you need to take care of after that, which probably needs to be a whole nother series because that's a lot. But you definitely need to eat the protein before you get there, but you got to eat protein after to feed that muscle so that it can repair. And if you're not eating enough, then it's not going to grow. And that's very important to be able to see that, change in your body. So you definitely want to try to keep up with those calories to make sure you're hitting that. Because who wants to go to the gym and put all of that work in and then you're not seeing the results? And so then they think, well, I'm just eating too much, or genetically, I just can't put on muscle. And it's not always that. It's that, sadly, we just don't know what we need to be doing to make that change.
Right. And another important thing in nutrition that we need to cover is calories. What is a calorie? Are all calories created equal? When we talk about a calorie, it is just a unit of measure. In nutrition, they just use it as a unit of energy when food is metabolized in the body. For example, if you take a 30-minute walk, it might require you to metabolize 150 calories of fuel to fuel that walk. So then there's an energy balance that we
that
need
we
to
need to
determine
determine
for
for
ourselves.
ourselves.
Like we
Like
talked
we
about
talked about
earlier, if
earlier,
you
if
have
you
a
have a
fast
fast
metabolism, you're
metabolism,
going to
you're
eat
going to
more
eat more
calories. If you
calories.
have a
If you have
slow
a slow
metabolism,
metabolism,
you're going to
you're
eat
going to
less
eat less
calories. So
calories. So
how do
how do
you
you
determine
determine
how
how
many
many
calories you
calories you
need to
need
be
to be
eating
eating
so that
so
you can
that you
even
can even
calculate the
calculate the
percentage
percentage
of
of
carbohydrates,
carbohydrates,
fats, and
fats, and
proteins
proteins
that
that
you
you
need for
need for a
a
daily
daily good
good
overall
overall
nutrition
nutrition
plan.
plan. Yeah. And that's hard for a lot of people. And
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to go into that one further too, helping people figure that out because it's hard.
Yeah.
And sticking.
There's a
There's a
lot of
lot of
free
free
online
online
calculators where
calculators
you
where
can
you can
calculate
calculate
your
your
basal
basal
metabolic
metabolic
rate,
rate,
which
which
is
is
just the
just
amount
the
of
amount of
energy you
energy you
need to
need to
survive
survive and just
have
have
organ
organ
functions every
functions every
day.
day.
And
And
then your
then your
total
total
daily
daily
energy
energy
expenditure,
expenditure,
also
also
called
called
TDEE,
TDEE,
which is what
which is
you
what
really
you
want to
really want to
look
look
at
at
because that
because that
takes
takes
into
into
account
account
your
your
age,
age,
your
your
weight,
weight,
your
your
height, and
height,
your
and your
activity
activity
level.
level.
So if you're
So if you're
somebody who's
somebody who's
sedentary,
sedentary,
you're going to
you're going
eat
to
less
eat less
calories than
calories than
somebody
somebody
who is
who is
highly
highly
active.
active.
And
And
there's a
there's a
lot
lot
of
of
I think
I think
even if
even
you go
if you
into
go
like a
into like a
calorie
calorie
tracking
tracking
tool,
tool
like
like
MyFitnessPal,
MyFitnessPal
that
that
helps you
helps you
set up
set
your
up your
goals, which
goals,
is
which
what
is
I
what I
recommend to
recommend to
anybody who's
anybody
trying
who's
to
trying to
track their
track their
calories.
calories.
When you
When
go to
you go
set
to
that
set
up,
that
it's
up,
going to
it's going
ask
to
you
ask
those
you those
questions. It's going to
questions. It's
ask
going to
you
ask you
how old
how
you
old
are,
you
if you're
are, if
male
you're
or
male or
female, how
female, how
tall you
tall you
are,
are.
if you're
If you're
lightly
lightly
active,
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 extremely
extremely
active,
active,
like
maybe how
maybe
many
how many
days a
days
week
a
that
week
you
that
work
you work
out.
out.
And the
And the
reason it's
reason it's
asking
asking
that is
that is
because it's
because
going
it's
to
going to
calculate for
calculate for
you
you
your
your
total
total
daily
daily
expenditure in
expenditure in
calories, because
calories,
that's
because
how we're
that's
going
how
to
we're going to
measure.
measure.
And then
And then
once you've
once you've
got
got
that,
that,
you can
you can
decide
decide
whether
whether
you
you
want
want
to,
to,
if you're
if you're
going to
going to
gain
gain
weight,
weight,
maintain your
maintain your
weight, or
weight, or
lose your
lose your
weight, then
weight,
you
then
have
you
to
have to
eat
eat
in a
in a
surplus
surplus
maintenance or
maintenance or
deficit, which
deficit,
is
which
what
is
you were
what you were
about to get
about to get
into
into
earlier. And I
earlier. And I
stopped you
stopped
because I
you
was
because
like,
I was
well,
like,
we're
well,
going to
we're
cover
going to
that
cover
later.
that later.
I got a
I got
whole
a whole
other
section
section
about
about
that.
that. No,
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 it was
it was
good. It was
good. It was
good. And
good.
I want to
And I
get
want to
into
get
that
into that
now
now
because
because
the way
the way
I've
I've
always
always
done it
done it
is,
is
okay,
okay,
to
to
lose
lose
1 pound
£1
of
of
body
body
fat
fat
or to
or to
gain
gain
one
one
pound
pound
of
of
body
body
fat
fat
per
per
week
week
is a
is a
3,500
3,500
calorie
calorie
change.
change.
So
So
either if you're
either if you're
gaining
gaining
weight and
weight
you're
and you're
eating in a
eating in a
surplus
surplus
of
of
500
500
calories
calories
per
per
day,
day,
that's going to
that's
be
going to be
3,500
3,500
calories per
calories
week.
per
You
week. You
should
should
typically
typically
gain one
gain one
pound.
pound.
Same with
Same with
losing
losing
weight.
weight.
If you
If you
eat in a
eat in a
deficit
deficit
of
of
500
500
calories per
calories per
day,
day,
3,500
3,500
calories per
calories
week,
per
you
week, you
should
should
lose on
lose on
average
average
about
about
1 pound
one
per
pound per
week.
week.
And if you
And
want
if
to
you want to
maintain, you
maintain,
just
you just
eat
eat
right there
right
at your
there at your
maintenance
maintenance
level.
level.
And so
And
it's
so it's
really
really
figuring
figuring
out,
out.
again, it's going
Again,
to be
it's going to be
trial and
trial and
error.
error.
As we
As
all
we all
know, I
know, I
struggle with
struggle with
that.
that.
It's
It's
to
to
increase
increase
calories or
calories or
activity or
activity or
decrease
decrease
calories or
calories or
activity,
activity
because
because
what you're
what you're
taking
taking
in
in
as far
as
as your
far as your
calories
calories that you're
eating
eating
has to
has to
be
be
less
less
than
than
what
what
your
your
calories that
calories
you're
that you're
expending
expending
in
in
order to
order to
create that
create that
deficit
deficit
to
to
lose
lose
the
the
weight.
weight.
And I want
And
to
I want to
preface
preface
that
that
too, that
too that
not all
not all
weight
weight
is the
is the
same,
same
because
because
you
you
have
have
fat
fat
mass
mass
and
and
fat-free
fat-free
mass.
mass.
When you
When
look
you
at your
look at your
body
body
composition,
composition,
you're going to
you're
have
going
a
to have a
percentage of your
percentage of your
body
body
weight
weight
is
is
fat,
fat,
visceral or
visceral or
subcutaneous.
subcutaneous.
Visceral's the
Visceral's the
fat that you
fat that
find
you find are
like
like
deep
deep
inside your
inside your
body
body
around your
around your
organs.
organs.
You think
You
of a
think of a
man that
man
has
that
a
has a
hard
hard
round
round
belly.
belly.
It's not
It's not
squishy,
squishy,
like
like
mine, but
mine, but
it's
it's
hard and
hard and
round. That's
round.
because
That's
he has a
because he
lot
has a
of
lot of
visceral
visceral
fat around
fat
his
around his
organs, and it's
organs, and it's
pushing the
pushing the
belly
belly
out, but the
out, but the
skin's very
skin's very
taut.
taut.
And then you
And
have
then you have
subcutaneous
subcutaneous
fat,
fat,
which is the
which is
fat
the
that's
fat
right
that's
right under the skin that you can kind of pinch. And then you have everything else is your fat-free mass. You have muscle, you have bone, you have organs and tissues like your skin, you have water weight. So we don't want to just lose weight because we could be losing vital muscle tissue, but we want to really focus on keeping that protein high and keeping ourselves resistance training in the gym so that the weight we do lose is that unhealthy body fat.
Yeah, I think I'm going to insert my little 2 cents here because I'm advocate about this is people that do too much cardio and they say, "Well, I've lost weight." Well, you you probably did, but in what aspect? Because there's a fine line between too much and the right amount. That if we do too much cardio, you're going to start losing muscle, and you don't want to be that skinny fat. But we all know I'm for weight training anyway. But it's just the best for our body all around because you're keeping yourself, um, I'm going to say tone, although tone muscle is not really a thing, but it's what everybody can relate to. You're, you're building muscle. That's when everybody says, "Oh, I just want to look toned." So you want to build muscle because
You
that's
want
really
to
what
be muscular.
doesn't mean that you're gonna, look like a man. You just want to feel your skin out, and that's what gives us the curves. But if you're over there running for 2 hours a day and then you're not eating, you're eating a salad and you're not even eating the protein that we just discussed to build muscle, well, then you're going to get that skinny fat look. And then people wonder, well, why am I not getting anywhere with what I want to look like? That's one of the reasons.
Right. That
Right. That
energy
energy
balance is
balance is
definitely
definitely
going to
going
be
to be
off
off
in those
in those
scenarios
scenarios
because
because
they're
they're
likely
likely
expending
expending
more
more
calories
calories
during
during
those
those
marathon
marathon
cardio
cardio
sessions
sessions
than they're
than they're
taking
taking
in,
in,
mixed
mixed
with
with
not
not
having
having
adequate
adequate
amounts of
amounts of
protein and
protein
not
and
adding
not adding
resistance to the
resistance to the
muscle. And you're
muscle. And you're
right, you're
right,
just
you're
going
just
to
going
be
to
in
be in
a
a
negative
negative
feedback
feedback
loop because
loop
your
because your
body
body
will
will
get
get
used
used
to it
to it
and
and
adapt
adapt
to those
to
higher
those higher
amounts of
amounts of
cardio.
cardio. Yeah. And then the only way to overcompensate that is if I'm doing 2 hours and then my body gets used to that, in order to lose more weight, then I got to do 3 hours and then I got to do 4 hours. You got nowhere to go. So you don't really want to get your body used to that much cardio like that. Now, if you like running, my client likes running. I don't understand it, but I mean, if I'm running, you better run because somebody has a gun.
Somebody's
Somebody's
chasing you.
chasing you. Yeah. I
There
don't.
are
Some
some people
people
who
who
use it
use
like
it like
meditation.
meditation.
They were like,
Yeah.
this
This
clears my
clears my
mind,
mind.
and
I wish that I did like it, but it would sure help me in prep, but I don't.
right.
Right.
But if you're
But if
going
you're
to
going
do
to do
that, you just
that, you
have
just
to
have to
account for
account for
that and
that
eat
and
enough
eat enough
calories
calories
to fuel your
fuel your
body and then
body, and then
definitely get
definitely
enough
get enough
protein to be
protein to
able
be
to
able to
spare that
spare that
muscle as
muscle
much
as
as
much as
possible.
possible. Right, right. And then I know this is off of it a little bit too, and I apologize, but I got to go throw in there when people start that diet talking about their calories. I feel like, so to begin with, they lose water weight, but because they see the scale moving to begin with, they think they've actually lost fat. And no, you haven't. You've lost water weight. And then when it becomes, stagnant and they're saying, well, I lost 5 pounds the first week. Now I can't lose nothing. Yeah, because now you've lost that easy water weight. And now you're getting to where you need to lose that fat. And that doesn't move as easy. So then they get, depressed about that, and then they give up. That's where what we're discussing comes into play, that you got to just keep with everything. You got to be my protein, my fats, do my workout. I got to make sure that I'm eating less calories than I'm doing. So if I'm working out, I got to make sure that those calories, which is what you're talking about, adding it all up and figuring out how much is my expenditure versus what I'm eating. Because I think sometimes people sit down, they'd be surprised. You'll be very surprised that you're eating more than you think you are.
100%. And that
And
takes
that
us
takes
into
us
our
into
next
our next
topic, which is
topic, which is
calorie
calorie
tracking.
tracking.
Okay,
Okay,
there are
there
a
are
lot
a
of
lot of
free
free
fitness tools out
out
there that
there
are
that are
make it
make it
super
super
simple
simple
nowadays to
nowadays to
track your
track your
calories.
calories.
You go in, they help you set up your total daily energy expenditure. They help you know how many calories you're going to eat. Great. You're set up. You have your goals. You've researched what percentage you want carbs, fats, protein. You start tracking day one. You go in, you search your food, you put it in there, you find the name, perfect. I found my brand, I found the name, I found exactly what I'm going to eat. This is going to be a serving size next that you have to put in. And unless you are weighing your food, I have like a little postal scale that I got at Walmart. Or you can buy specific scales. Unless you are measuring it in grams or ounces and actually weighing your food, you actually have no idea how much you are eating. And if you are just tracking off of visual cues and about how much you think a serving is, you're going to be sadly mistaken when you actually start weighing your food. So I would say that people who are tracking underestimate their calories largely because
Yeah.
I was devastated when I found out what a tablespoon of peanut butter actually was. Because when I was a kid, you grab the jar, and you grab the tablespoon, and you just dip out a big heaping tablespoon. My grandmother used to hand me a big spoonful of peanut butter as a snack after school. And I would just sit back and front covered, just licking that peanut butter off the spoon. Girl, that is like 5 servings. And peanut butter. Public service announcement is not a protein. It's a fat. Sorry about you. Do not eat it as a protein source. It is completely a fat. And fat has way more calories than protein. So don't even. To me, I don't even like peanut butter on my plan because it's just enough to piss me off. Because when I weighed out 15 grams, which is one tablespoon, I think a serving size if you look on the jar is like 2 tablespoons, like 30 grams or so. I could have one tablespoon on my plan, and this was a meal, and I was like, that ain't even enough to smear on a rice cake. I can't even cover a piece of bread with 15 grams. I can barely taste that, But you look at the calories, I was like, just give me something else because that ain't even worth my time. So unless you've been weighing your food and measuring it for years and you can kind of eyeball it, don't even try it. And that's why going out to eat is so dangerous because the portions are huge. You're not measuring it. They're cooking all kind of oils you can't even account for. So if you're going out to eat and you're trying to track calories, it's gonna mess you up every time unless you just grossly try to overestimate those calories.
Yeah. My coach before the one I'm using now, she would give me almond butter, and it was hard. I would weigh it out on that spoon and I'd take my time. I could take 30 minutes eating a tablespoon.
There's people who freeze it so that they have to eat it slower. And I'm like, don't even give it to me because that's not even worth it.
Well, this coach that I use now, he didn't. And I was so disappointed, but he would use almonds. And I weighed out the almonds he gave me one time, and it literally was about 5. And I was like, just don't even give it to me.
Right. I bet that was like 100 calories, wasn't it? I bet.
Who wants to eat 5? And then I'm telling Carrie, just put this bag up because I'll be wanting to sneak another one. Just hide this from me. I've weighed it out, and I'd have to try to make 2 bites out of it, so I feel like I was having a little snack. So yeah, very surprising at how small amount that is.
And you think about people who just sit down with a bag of nuts in front of the TV and start eating. You could eat 5 to 600 calories easy before you know it, and you think you've done so well because you've chosen a healthy snack option. You've only eaten a handful of nuts, and those handful of nuts, you're gonna log them as like one serving when actually you probably had 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So
well, I'll tell you a small story here. I heard my coach on his podcast one time talking about this lady wasn't really losing weight. She wasn't understanding what was going on, blah, blah, blah. So then she's eating on plan. She had a small child, and she's thinking about it. She's like, sometimes when my kid's eating this, I might take a bite of it and I might take a bite of this. So she decided to take a baggie. And every time that she would think or, like, okay, my kid eats this, let me eat a bite, she would put it in her mouth and chew it up. But he was like, this was so gross, but she was putting it in the baggie. And by the end of the week, she actually brought it to him and said, this is how much extra food I was eating that I wasn't thinking, because it would just be, oh, a bite of my kid's food here. Oh, they're eating some goldfish. Let me have 2 or 3 goldfish. Let me have a bite of their sandwich. They're eating a sandwich and I'm making it. You bite it before you give it to them. And I thought, that really is like reality if somebody were to do that. No, don't bring it to me and don't show us.
Yeah.
But if you do it yourself, and then by the end of the week, realize how many extra calories you are eating that you're not even putting in your fitness pal, because you're like, oh, those 3 goldfish didn't count. Oh, it was just 1 bite. That don't count. Because by the end of the week, you might have ate an extra 500 or 600 calories that you didn't account for. And then you're like, I don't know why I can't lose weight. But that 500 or 600 calories puts you not in a deficit.
Right. And that's a great point and a great story because I've had people who have told me the gummy vitamins that they take in the mornings. I was like, do you log those? I said, log everything you put in your mouth, eat or drink, because energy drinks, protein shakes, anything you eat or drink, put it in there. And she was like, I'm having like 15 grams of carbs every morning just in my gummy vitamins. And it's like 100 and something calories. Well, to her, that's a whole nother meal. That's a protein bar or a protein shake or some other meal she could have just by chewing gummy vitamins every morning instead of a capsule that, doesn't have any calories. So definitely, if you're not tracking everything 100%, you actually don't have scientific data. And I think it's because people don't want to admit to themselves that they're eating as much as they are. You always want to think that you're doing better. That you're following the rules, that you're doing well. You don't want to feel like a failure, because I know I've been there. And but then garbage in, garbage out. If your data is garbage going in, you're going to have garbage coming out because you're going to be like, why am I not losing? Like you said, you're not in a deficit. Because I've never seen anybody go on Naked and Afraid and not lose weight. If you're in a deficit, you're going to lose weight. I know it can be harder due to hormones, thyroid, insulin sensitivity, PCOS. There are a million things out there that can make it harder on your body. But when it comes down to it, if you're eating in a deficit, you're going to lose weight. And if you're not losing weight, then somehow, some way, as unfair as it is, you're not in a deficit. And the only way you know that is tracking long term. When people come to me for nutrition advice, I'll tell them download my Fitness Pal and start tracking your food, everything you put in your mouth, no judgment. Just how are you eating now?
Mm-hmm.
Track everything you put in your mouth for a week, then come back and talk to me. Because we need to know where you are.
Correct.
So
and you're only cheating yourself if you lie about it, because some people will lie about it. And I mean, even to the high price coaches, I mean, I've heard many of them talk about, I had a client that was lying to me and I found out later they admitted they cheated on their diet. And you're only cheating yourself when you do that.
Yeah.
That coach is there to help you, or even if you're trying to do it yourself, why go through all of that if you're going to lie? And you're the only one that's seeing it. You're not even having to show somebody. You're just putting it in your Fitness Pal. But if you really want to know the truth of what's going on, log it all so you can look at yourself and say, this is why I'm not necessarily a failure. I wasn't thinking about that. And so now I know, now I can change it.
Right. Even your coach was on his podcast and he was talking about a client of his who was she was following the plan mostly, but she was giving herself refeeds, which were she felt like she was getting too low in calories. She felt like she needed a little something extra. Where your coach is supposed to go, hey, I see this is happening. Let's give you a bump in extra calories for a specific person purpose. Well, she was doing that for herself, and so she wasn't telling him. So all along he's going through thinking she's eating this amount of calories and this is doing great for her. So then when it comes closer to peak week, she's like, oh, I better get really strict on my meal plan, and I better follow it 100%. Well, she starts like losing too much weight and not filling out as much. And he's like, what the hell is happening? And then she finally admitted toward the end, I was given, or she had admitted to somebody else or something. Got back to him. She was giving herself refeeds that she wasn't telling him about, that she wasn't tracking. And so it completely messed up her prep and her competition season because she wasn't being honest with her coach. And I find it so crazy that people won't even be honest with themselves because who's looking. It's one thing to have a coach and not want to disappoint your coach, which I would say that's a red flag. If you have a coach that you're scared of, that you can't be honest with about your struggles, then that's a red flag to me. But if you can't even be honest with yourself, that's something that you really need to take a hard look at and try to figure out why and just do it anyway. Because I think once you start tracking everything accurately, you'll feel better in the long run. Just knowing the correct information, and then you can help yourself further.
I agree.
So I just want to go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just fixing to go into the next point. So if you got something to finish there,
yeah. Okay. I just wanted to recap really quick because that was a lot of information, like rapid fire, because we're coming up on the, we're already past the hour. But when it comes to calorie tracking, first you want to calculate your total daily energy expenditure. And if you Google that, there's a lot of free online calculators that can help you do that. You're deciding your goal if you want to gain weight, lose weight, or maintain weight, because then that's going to tell you if you want to eat in a surplus or a deficit or just maintain. And that can be a mixture of activity or calories. You want to set your daily calorie and macronutrient goal. Don't forget about the carbs, fats, and proteins, because you have to have those in the correct percentages for your goal. Find a tracking tool such as MyFitnessPal or something else. There's a lot of free ones there that you can use and pay for, upgraded options. Enter your goals, and then start tracking and being honest. That's just a brief recap for those who are very interested, who maybe have never tracked before, and they don't even know where to get started. I wanted to make sure that everybody was good and set up. And you can always message us.
Yes. I only had one helpful tip to throw back. I'm sorry, I'm going way back, but on the getting our protein in. So my helpful tip there would definitely be two things. One, I like to start my day with protein. If we start it with, oh, let me grab a Pop-Tart, oh, let me grab some cereal. And as long as it's protein cereal, because I like my protein cereal, those are good. But if we start our day with a high protein, then it's easier to meet our protein goals for the day. And two, when I start my day off like that, it sets me up to want to succeed the rest of the day. If I start off with a crappy morning and junk food, I kind of always end up failing because I'm like, I started it off bad. It's hard to start it off bad and then sometimes get that mindset of, okay, let's forget that and get back on track. You have to be strong-headed to do that, because I'm very strong-headed, and sometimes I even get in that mindset, oh, I messed it up, whatever, let's go to McDonald's. So if you start your day and set yourself up for success, I feel like the day is more successful. That's my tip there. And then eating the protein. When we eat our protein or eat our food, if we got it on the plate, eat your protein first, because it does fill you up faster, and then you won't eat as much of the carbs and the other things because you've ate your protein first, and it does fill you up, and then you're full, and then you don't really want to snack on other things. So I did want to throw that out. That's just two tips that help me. So that takes you into meal planning.
Absolutely. So
Absolutely.
once
So
you
once
figured
you
out your
figured out your
calorie
calorie
goal
goal
and your
and your
macronutrient
macronutrient
goals, you
goals,
want to
you want to
decide
decide how many
you want to
meals
eat
you
per
want to eat
day.
per
So
day.
that's
So
totally
that's
going to be
totally going to
based
be
on
based on
preference,
preference,
lifestyle. You
lifestyle.
do
You
want to
do
eat
want to eat
several
several
smaller
smaller
meals per
meals per
day.
day.
Um,
Um,
there
there
is
is
there are some
there are
people that
some
do
people that do
intermittent
intermittent
fasting. I'm
fasting.
one of
I'm
those
one of those
people. I get
people.
my
I get my
meals in a
meals in a
certain,
certain,
eating
eating
window.
window.
So it's
So it's
completely up to
completely up to
you, but you
you, but you
divide it.
divide it.
Like, say you
Like,
want to
say
eat
you want to
four
eat
meals
four
per
meals
day.
per day.
You would take your
You would take
total
your total
calories,
calories,
divide by
divide
four,
by
and that would
four,
be
and that would be how many
how many
calories you want to
try to
try to
hit
hit
for each
for
meal.
each
So
meal.
that's going to
So that's going
help
to
you
help you
plan your
plan your
meals
meals
accordingly
accordingly
and
and
say,
say,
you have a
you have a
protein goal.
protein goal.
Divide it by
Divide it by
four, and
four,
that's
and that's how many
grams of
grams of
protein you're going to
protein
try
you're
to
going
hit
to
in that
try to hit
meal.
in that
Same
meal.
with
Same with
carbohydrates, same with
carbohydrates, same with
fats.
fats.
And maybe
And
your
maybe your
snacks may be a
snacks
little
may be a
lower in
little lower in
calorie, lower in
calorie, lower in
protein because they're
protein
not
because
as
they're not as
big, and maybe
big,
your
and maybe
dinner
your
is going to be
dinner
a
is going to be a
larger
larger
part
part
because you
because
have that
you
with your
have that with your
family and that's
family
how
and
you
that's how
end your
you end your
day.
day.
That's
That's
completely fine.
completely
You can
fine. You can
rearrange your
rearrange your
calories and your
calories and your
macros
macros
as
as
you
you
need
need
to,
to,
but you just
but
want to
you
have
just
like
want to
a
have like a
target to
target
try to
to
figure
try
it
to
out.
figure it
I
out.
say
I
it's
say
like
it's
playing
like playing
Tetris.
Tetris.
You have all
You
these
have all these
ingredients for your
ingredients for
food in your meal
your meal
plans, and you're
plans,
trying
and
to
you're trying
fit
to
it
fit it
into
into
the plan
the
that you
plan that you
have. And so
have.
you're
And so
taking
you're
all these
taking all these
pieces and trying to
pieces and
fit them
trying to fit
together
them
into
together into one whole
plan.
plan.
So
Yeah.
what
So what?
so once you
So once you
plan to
plan
hit
to
your
hit your
target,
target,
you
you
plan your
plan your
meals, and
meals,
then you
and then
plan
you plan
ahead.
ahead,
And that's
and
when you
that's when you
prep your
prep your
food.
food.
If
Yeah. If
you do
you do
not
not
plan,
plan,
how does it
how does it
go? If
go?
you
If you
fail to
fail to
plan, you
plan, you
plan to
plan to
fail.
fail.
Because when
Because
you
when
get
you get
hungry,
hungry,
you're going to
you're going
reach
to
for
reach
whatever's
for whatever's
convenient. You're going
convenient.
to reach
You're
for
going to reach for
whatever's right
whatever's
there. You're
right
going to
there.
reach
You're
for
going to reach
whatever's
for whatever's
fast or whatever
fast or
you're
whatever
craving
you're
at the
craving at
moment.
the moment.
I don't know
I don't
about
know
you,
about you,
but I'm
but I'm
cheap.
cheap.
And if
And
I
if
already
I
have a
already have a
meal that I
meal
have
that I have
cooked,
cooked,
I have
I
taken the
have
time
taken
to
the time to
measure it,
measure
plan
it,
it, cook it,
cook
stick it
it,
in the
stick it in the
refrigerator, and it's
refrigerator, and
already
it's
there, and
already
it's
there,
going
and
to
it's
go
going to go
bad if
bad
I
if I
don't
don't
eat
eat
it.
it.
I'm not going
I'm
to
not going to
go
go
eat some other
just
meal
because I want it at the moment
because
because
I don't want
I
that
don't
meal
want
to go
that meal to
bad.
go bad.
And it's
And it's
easy. I just
easy. I
take it
just
out of the
take it out of the
refrigerator,
refrigerator,
pop it in the
pop it in the
microwave, and it's
microwave, and it's
done. I
done.
don't
I
have to
don't
cook
have to
it.
cook it. You know, I
I'm
don't
a
have to
big
think about it.
exactly.
Exactly. If you take
The
the
decision away
decision
from
away from
yourself
yourself
while you're
while
in the
you're in the
mindset of
mindset of
planning,
planning,
then you're more
then you're
likely
more
to
likely to
succeed.
succeed.
Because when you're
Because
in the
when you're in the
moment and you're
moment and you're
hungry and you're
hungry and you're
craving
craving
something, you're not
something,
going to
you're
make a
not
good
going to make a good
decision.
decision.
I mean, you
I mean, you
might,
might,
but the
but
odds
the
are
odds are
not in your
not in
favor.
your favor. Yeah, yeah, very much so. Well, when my kids were younger, I would have a, well, I shouldn't say that. I'd say when my son was younger and my daughter and son in law was, living with us, I had a chalkboard and I would meal plan for the week. Now, this is before I started the gym. So, yes, I was already planning, even though it was not healthy foods. But that way, everybody knew. Plus, because I had so much going on, it took away from me having to decide, well, what am I going to cook tonight? Oh my gosh. So, everybody knew. I had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I had listed on there what we were having for dinner. So, number one, that helps you get organized. So I say choose this time to be, healthy. But then it helped me when I went to the grocery store. Okay, I go to the grocery store at the beginning of the week. I know Monday through Saturday, this is what we're eating. This is what I need to buy. And it helped keep me on track with my grocery list. So now you've made healthy choices of what your meals are going to be, what ingredients you need. I go to the grocery store with this list, and it's going to help me not pick up the snacks and not pick up the stuff because I need to get what's on my list.
And if you've
And
seen
if you've seen
grocery
grocery
prices
prices
lately, you're
lately,
going to save
you're
some
going to save
money,
some money,
especially
especially eating
Oh my
out. Oh my
gosh.
gosh. Exactly. So, and my other tip on that was don't go to the grocery store hungry.
Oh
Oh,
girl,
girl.
I'm the
If
worst.
I go to the grocery store hungry, it's all over. There were times when I was on prep and we go to the grocery store and I'm seeing stuff I ain't never even seen in the grocery store before. Like, oh, When did they get that? Oh, did you see this flavor? And I'm thinking, I've never even seen this in here. But I'm hungry, so I'm looking at everything. Now I don't even see it. I go to the grocery store now because I'm not as hungry being off, prep. And you go in there and you just get what you got to get. But for some reason, when I'm hungry and I go to the grocery store, when I'm on prep, I see things I've never seen before. And I'm like, oh, I wonder what that would be like. Knowing I'm not going to like it because I'm a picky person. But don't go to the grocery store hungry. And if you want, like we talked about last week, you could order your groceries. And that would save you money too because you're not in the store to do the impulse buying. You can take your list, order it, have it delivered, and then you don't have to have that temptation of walking by the ice cream, walking by the chips, walking by the things that you shouldn't pick up. You stick to your list and have it sent to you. Yes, it might cost a little extra to have it sent, but you still are saving because you didn't pick up things, one, that you don't need to be eaten. So, to me, my health is worth every dollar. And two, you would have spent extra anyway on things you didn't need. So that was a little tip I had.
Right, right. And I
Yep.
remember, one more tip that we discussed before we started recording. That I feel like you must get out there, and that's your blue cheese salad dressing tip. We were talking about what we're going to talk about today, and she started going off on this tangent about salads and salad dressing because she had an experience related to that recently. And I was like, "Ooh, that's good. Save it. Don't tell it now." And then I was like, "That'd be perfect to talk about when we talk about fats, and then we have so much other information we just glossed over it." But talking about tracking and planning, sauces, any kind of ketchup, condiments. Girl, mayonnaise. I don't even eat it anymore because it's just not worth it. It's just eggs and oil. It's just fat. And so,
Yeah. And I love mayonnaise, but I have cut it like out. I mean, I never thought I would order a hamburger and order it plain because that's the way my husband always ate it because he doesn't like those things anyway. He don't like ketchup. He don't like mayonnaise. He don't like mustard. I don't know. He's weird.
Yeah.
But so he would always order a cheeseburger plain. And when we first got together, I was like, how do you eat that? Are you not like choking trying to get that dry sandwich down? But I order it that way now. And it's not really, and I don't think a whole lot about it. But I would always order mine mayonnaise only because I loved mayonnaise.
Girl, I would get double mayonnaise. I would go through the Burger King extra mayonnaise. I couldn't have anything dry. I'm a saucy type person. But when I started tracking my food and I saw how many calories mayonnaise was taken away from my meals, I was like, I just have to learn how to eat a dry sandwich. I did start putting pickles on my sandwich. So I would take pickles because they're kind of juicy, and I would put them on like my ham sandwiches or whatever, and so it would give me a little bit. There's a million tips and tricks that you could do, but a lot of people.
I started doing that with my salads, and even I never liked jalapenos, but I've gotten to now where I just love them because it was something I could put in my salad that would help be something in there and the juice from it and things like that. Anyway, it was some substance.
The flavor, yeah. So a lot of people think, okay, I'm going to get healthy. You naturally think we're indoctrinated to think, okay, I got to eat salads. And like we've talked before, that salad that you're ordering is probably going to have more calories in it than if you were to just get a meat and a vegetable, or even a plain cheeseburger or a plain hamburger.
Well, when I was looking it up, it said that you could, by the time people put all of that salad dressing on there, they could have had not just a cheeseburger. I was surprised by this, a cheeseburger with fries. And I don't know about you, but rather eating a salad, if I was going to eat those calories, I want a cheeseburger and some French fries. So, think about that. When you go, girl, when we go to Ruby Tuesdays or we go places and they got the salad so high up on their plate, to me, I'm thinking, how are you even going to stir that up or cut it? It's so high on the plate. My second thought is, you can go back. Why do you put so much on there at one time? I don't know why that bugs me, and I apologize if you're one of those people, but it does. I'm just looking at it like, seriously, you can go back for more.
And you probably
And you
can't
probably
even
can't
see the
even see the
salad
salad
underneath all the
that's
dressing
piled
that's
on
piled on
top.
top.
Yeah. So what I was telling Marcy, so don't get me wrong, salads can be healthy and they can be a great way. The darker the greens, the better. If you eat the spinach, arugula, the kale, they all have our vitamins A, C, and E, and they help support a healthy immune, your eyesight. They protect from certain cancers. Those are great. Um, but the worst salad dressings is your creamy salad dressings like ranch, Thousand Island, and the blue cheese. They are high in calories and saturated fat, and we discussed the saturated fat and how bad that was, and sodium. So I looked it up, and in 2 tablespoons of blue cheese, it's nearly 150 calories and 50 grams of fat. That's just 2 tablespoons. You know how small 2 tablespoons is? You can't even hardly half the time cover all of the, greens that you got on your plate with that.
That's like
That's like
peanut
the
butter,
peanut butter.
it's just
If you actually measure it
out,
out,
it's not even
it's
worth
not even worth
having, to be
having, to be
honest.
honest.
Did you
Yeah.
say
Did you say
50 or
50 or
15
15
grams
grams of fat?
fat?
15.
15.
15.
Okay, I was like,
Okay. I was
50
like 50
grams,
grams. No, 15. 15. So,
which is a whole
which is a whole
meal. That's
meal.
about what
That's
I
about what
want
I
for a
want for a
meal for
meal
me.
for
To
me.
just put it in perspective, my entire meal I should have
Eating should
15
have 15
grams.
grams.
So that means
So
I
that
wouldn't
means
be
I
allowed
wouldn't
to
be
have
allowed to
any
have
other
any
fat
other
in
fat
any kind
in
of
any kind
protein
of
or
protein or
anything. So that would
anything. So
basically
that would
cut out
basically cut
protein.
out my protein. Right. Well, so I done a little research. It even says low fat dressings that, and this is a whole nother thing. I'm not going to get off into that, but I'm just going to briefly mention it. So, when something says, oh, it's low fat. Okay, well, turn that bottle around though and see why it's low fat. What did they, substitute? Because 90% of the time they are doing that for a selling point. They might say low calories, but check out the sugars, or low fat, but look at the calories. So most of the time when they're advertising that, they're putting that so you will pick it up. But if you turn that bottle around and look at it, there is their reason. So on the low fat dressings, it's full of sugar and sodium. So it's not necessarily even the best to have when you say, oh, well, give me that low fat. The best thing that I have found is to make your own dressing with olive oil, and you can use like red vinegar or balsamic. You can use lemon juice, and you can even add Dijon mustard, even though I don't like mustard. Or you could use honey and some salt and pepper, and make your own. And it really is pretty good because that's what I've started doing. And honestly, after a little while, it sounds crazy, but you learn to adapt to it. You learn to not care. I used to love Thousand Island as a child. I haven't ate Thousand Island in probably 20 years. Uh, and now to think about it, I don't even desire it.
Yeah, my
Yeah,
grandmother
my
made
grandmother made
homemade Thousand
homemade
Island.
Thousand
She did
Island.
not
She
buy
did not buy
salad dressing.
salad
She made
dressing.
it
She made it
homemade,
homemade,
which is just
which is
mayonnaise,
just
ketchup,
mayonnaise,
and pickle
ketchup, and pickle
relish. I
relish.
mean,
I
it's so
mean, it's so
simple,
simple.
but
Yeah, but what we just said, mayonnaise,
right,
one of the worst
exactly,
things that we
exactly.
can
And
eat.
ketchup's
Ketchup's
wonderful,
wonderful, but it's full of
unless
sugar
you
unless
buy
you
the
buy the
sugar-free version,
sugar-free
which
version,
G
which
Hughes
G
has a
Hughes
really
has a
good
really
sugar-free
good
ketchup.
sugar-free
I
ketchup. Yes,
love
shout
the
out
salsas. Yeah,
shout out
yeah.
to G Hughes. You can get it at Publix. I'm trying to get my
Walmart.
client on that. Yeah, Walmart
Mhm.
has started selling it. I love his, and he even has now at Publix over like where the meat is, like where you would buy your ham. He's got it's already packaged, and it's pulled chicken in his barbecue sauce. And all you have to do is like
Ooh.
poke a hole in it and microwave it.
I did not know
I did
that.
not know that. Yeah, I bought some when Publix had buy one get one. I'm all about some BOGO,
I know you
I
are.
know you are. I'm addicted. But I tried it, and it's really good.
Yeah, I
So
love the
I love the
salsas.
salsas.
I've never met a
Those are
salsa
easy
that
on
I
the
didn't
go
like.
too.
Yes,
Me
yes,
either.
and
He
and
does have
it's
some now. Be careful because there is one that's like
they're high in
it's
fat.
high in fat. Yeah, there's a burger one I think that almost looks
There's a
like Thousand Island, and it's higher. So I
yeah,
don't buy
yeah.
it. I bought it once. and
Well,
tried it, and
sugar
it's pretty
free.
good.
Free. So if you're doing if you're diabetic and you're doing sugar free, he does have a lot of sauces that are sugar free. But you do if you're counting calories, you do have to pay attention to calories.
Mhm.
Because I noticed like his chicken sauce and things like that, they taste phenomenal. They're sugar free, but they are higher in fat. So they are higher in
Yeah.
calories. So it's like 100
calories
calories per serving, which is
serving,
like two
which is like
tablespoons or something.
but he's got several things that, like, I think it's called sweet chili.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
where I put it on my chicken and rice, and I think it's, don't quote me on it. I got some in there, but I wasn't prepared for this. I think it's like 5 calories at the
Yeah,
most
yeah.
10, but I think it's 5, which is very low. And I just put a little bit. It doesn't take much because once you stir it up, it's one of those that don't take a lot. And every
Right,
time I
right.
put that in my chicken at work, the lady's like, "Oh my god, that smells so good!" And I'm like, "You're smelling that sauce. That's all it
Yeah,
is."
yeah.
But
And we'll go more into
more
that when we
into
have our
that when we
episode on meal
on
planning
meal
and
planning and
prepping.
prepping.
So
So
we'll try to save up all our little tips and tricks for that. But we are out of
we are
time
out
for
of time for
today. We've
today.
hit
We've
all the
hit all the
points
points
we
I
needed to
think we
hit.
needed
If
to
there's
hit. If
anything
there's
that you need
anything
any
that you
more
need any more
information about or
information
you'd like
about
to
or you'd
reach
like to
out,
reach out,
feel free
feel free
reach out to us
reach
on
out to
social
us on social
media,
media,
Facebook,
Facebook,
Instagram. If you
Instagram.
know
If
us
you
in
know us in
person, come up and
person, come
speak
up
to
and speak
us,
to us,
send us a
send us a
text,
text.
however you want to reach out
And
to
we'd be
us, and
happy
we'd be happy to answer any questions that you have on
anything
anything that we've discussed or
or
anything you'd
anything
like
you'd
to
like to
see
see
us
us
discuss.
Yes, we will say we are new at this. So any feedback or anything you want to hear discuss, or anything you think we can do to improve, I'm interested in hearing those comments also.
Yes, yes, we are
Yes, we
very
are
new to
very
this.
new
We
to
are
this. We are
learning
learning
as we
as we
go.
go.
So
So
if you hear any
if you
kind
hear
of
any kind of
weird
weird
noises or
noises or
feedback or
feedback
technical
or technical
difficulties,
difficulties,
as you see, we
as
have
you
on
see,
our
we have on our
headsets today,
headsets
and we have our
today, and we have our
microphones now. We've
microphones now.
invested
We've
in
invested in some new technology, and
we're trying to
we're
do
trying to
better.
do
So
better. So
just bear
just
with
bear
us
with
as
us
we
as we
learn and
learn and
grow. We do
grow.
this
We do
because we
this
love you
because we love you
guys,
guys,
and we
and
want
we want
everybody to be
everybody to
healthy
be
and
healthy and
succeed,
succeed,
especially
especially
women.
women.
We just really
We
have a
just
heart
really
for
have a
that.
heart for that.
We don't get
We
paid
don't
for
get
this.
paid
We
for
don't have
this.
any
We don't have any
advertising. This is
advertising.
just
This is just
strictly,
strictly,
out of
out of
us
us
wanting
wanting
to connect
to
with you.
connect with you.
So we'd
So
love to hear
we'd
from
love to
you.
hear
We'd love
from
to
you. We'd love to
connect.
connect.
Please like and
Please like and
subscribe
subscribe
so that you'll
so that
get
you'll get
updates
updates
on
on
our
our
newest
newest
episodes.
episodes.
We're
We're
going
going
to
to
put
put
out
out
an
an
episode
episode
every
every
Monday.
Monday.
So
So
look for us every Monday.
Sounds awesome. Until then, we'll see y'all next week.
All right.
All
Bye,
right. Bye,
guys.
guys. Bye.